Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. I know Jeff Stoutland is out. I know Vic Fangio is coming back, per Jeff McCain. But it really feels like the adults in the room are leaving. And it feels like the children are running the show here, and that does not bode well for any good vibes going forward with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I said before, Sean Mannion might be the most brilliant football mind, play caller, the new hottest thing in the NFL. We won't know until he actually starts calling plays. But it certainly feels like the guys that you trusted the most either have one foot out the door or they're out the door. And Stout, to use his own words, is out as the Eagles offensive line coach. Look, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't get how you let this happen. And look, a guy was with you for 13 years in total, but 12 years into it, after he gives you incredible production and churns out offensive linemen that are ready to go in there and play at a moment's notice, or the biggest brag you could possibly think of is Jordan Mailata, a rugby player. I mean, I remember talking about that draft and saying, no, the Eagles had 5 picks and they took 4 football players, I know I'm hilarious. But Jeff Stoutland molded Jordan Mailata into 2 years ago the highest rated football player in the NFL. Not tackle, not offensive lineman, football player. Nobody did their job in the NFL better than Jordan Mailata 2 years ago. Now, I even mentioned Jeff Stoutland's name throughout the season saying, well, wait a minute, this guy's the run game coordinator. This guy's the offensive line coach. And I know we all love to praise him, and he is great, and he too could have a down year. But I don't believe that all of a sudden these guys forgot all their lessons. I thought this year that they were pretty banged up. You look at Landon Dickerson, you look at Cam Jurgens. Cam Jurgens was banged up, did not have a great year, and still somehow was a Pro Bowler. And when you went throughout the league to look at Pro Bowl snubs, like who should have made it over him, nobody mentioned another center. There was nobody else. They were like, oh, you know who should really made it? I'll tell you who should have made it. Nobody had another Pro Bowl snub that was a center. So anyway, the scariest thing was just Jordan Mailata not having a great year, him admitting throughout the season that the Eagles certainly had struggles. But even if you acknowledge the down year that happened this year, what about the other 12, for crying out loud? 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Super Bowl championships with this guy at the helm of your offensive line. Jason Kelce flat out saying in his retirement speech, and then mentioning again yesterday that there's no doubt that Jeff Stoutland was the most influential person in his career and got the best out of Jason Kelce. Oh, and by the way, Cam Jurgens, go over his 3 years in the NFL. You're talking about Cam Jurgens being a guy that could play right guard for you, and then bang, goes right to center. And they don't miss a beat after Jason Kelce retires. And through all of that, through just those 12 years, in year 13, you decide, hey, we know he's the run game coordinator, but the brain trust of Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo, those are going to be the guys that figure it out. And as Tim McManus points out on ESPN, Patullo and Sirianni were drawing up their own run schemes without involving Jeff Stoutland. Yeah, the guy that seems to know what he's doing the most. Let's exclude him. Oh man, do we have the ideas? And I'll go to the end there. They didn't have the ideas. They didn't know how to solve this problem. The other thing is, Jeff Stoutland, throughout his time in Philadelphia, especially when the Eagles really started having success and his lore started to build, the legend of Stout started to build, and the Stoutland University and all that. Throughout that entire process, he would get asked about, hey, do you want to be a coordinator? Hey, do you want to call plays? Hey, do you want to be a head coach? And I distinctly remember he laughed at those questions. It was like, basically, guys, you understand my pay grade, right? Like, you understand what I got it pretty good. Like, I really admire people that are ambitious, but also realize they got it pretty damn good. And it's not because they just, they were awarded, the goods of life. No, they worked their ass off for it. They're great at what they do, and they just want to stay right there. This is pretty great. I don't have the responsibility of a head coach. I don't have the responsibility of an offensive coordinator. I still make bank for being a position coach in the NFL. Life's pretty good. And I love that he acknowledged that. So if you're thinking about him being ambitious to the point of, he wanted to be offensive coordinator or he wanted to be a head coach, no, he was pretty cool. But when you treat people badly that have that attitude, they'll never forget it. And that's why when I saw the story of 2 weeks ago now, the Eagles demoted Jeff Stoutland at some point during the season and stripped him of his run game coordinating. You don't do somebody like that. Then the story comes out with more detail about how, again, it was Patullo and Sirianni drawing up these schemes without any influence from Jeff Stoutland. You don't do people like that. I give him all the credit in the world for, first off, his incredible run here in Philadelphia as the run game coordinator, as the offensive line coach, presiding over an offensive line and a running back that set records for you last year, 2 years ago now. And they just pushed him aside. I don't blame Jeff Stoutland one bit for saying, you know what? I think I'm good. I'll get a gig somewhere else. Eagles are saying, we'll stick around and help the franchise in some capacity. Okay, good luck to you. The Eagles did this one way wrong. Way wrong. And with any offensive lineman the Eagles brought in, there was confidence that, man, come day one, Jeff Stoutland will have these guys ready to go. I mean, I remember being there in the locker room when Jordan Mailata was drafted, and, man, this guy was so green, so unbelievably green. And no, I don't mean Midnight or Kelly. I mean, he didn't know what the hell he was doing. And Stoutland looked at this guy and just went, yep, I got that. Yep. You give me heart and desire, I'll give you a career. Jordan Mailata, the biggest brag. Somebody else, Mekhi Becton. Hey, here's a guy who's playing tackle. Oh, look at this tackle. All right, well, he's going to be a guard for us, and we're going to set records in the run game. And that's what happened. 1 year, kingmaker. The one guy that I really look at over the 13 years Jeff Stoutland was here, who was Andre Dillard. It just seemed like nobody could get to that dude, man. Nobody could get to that guy. But I think about Lane Johnson. Now, he was a high first-round pick, of course, so you would expect him to have success, and that's exactly what he did. Hall of Fame career here. My question is, regarding Lane Johnson, how much does Jeff Stoutland not being here affect the decision that Lane Johnson will make about whether or not he's going to come back for another year, whether or not he retires? This doesn't help that at all. And then you just think about these transitions you've had on the offensive line, and the biggest one is Cam Jurgens, or Jason Kelce to Cam Jurgens. It's like he didn't miss a beat. It really is incredible. Landon Dickerson coming into the league, and bang, all of a sudden he's like the best left guard in all of football. I mean, and then there was always somebody. Brett Toth is a guy that I had my doubts about this year. Brett Toth, actually, when he played well. Ready to play coming into the game. I had a bad taste in my mouth earlier in the season when Fred Johnson had played at the level that he had played at a year ago. And then all of a sudden, the first guy in for Lane Johnson last year is Matt Pryor. What? That didn't make no sense to me. That was the beginning of the questioning of what's going on with this O-line this year. But they eventually figured that one out and realized, oh, yeah, the Fred Johnson guy that we reacquired after letting him go in the offseason, it's going to work out pretty well. When I saw that Jeff Stoutland put it out there that he was calling it a career as the Eagles offensive line coach, I thought good for him, because they just handed him a bowl of crap and said, eat up, man. And he's like, I don't got to do that. I don't got to take this from you. And look, if he sticks around the franchise, great. It's not like I don't want Jeff Stoutland in the building. It's not like I don't want Jeff Stoutland around, offensive linemen on this team ever. It's like looking at a guy like Jason Kelce, like, well, yeah, kick him out. No, I'd like to have him around Cam Jurgens or other offensive linemen. I like to have him around every player on this football team going forward. But you don't treat people the way the Philadelphia Eagles treated Jeff Stoutland this year. through all the struggles this offense went through this year, you mean to tell me they looked at Jeff Stoutland and said, do less? Especially after the high water mark of last year. I don't blame him one bit. I wish it didn't go down like this. I'd love him to be here for another 13 years. But man, Eagles got exactly what they deserved in all of this. You don't push a guy like Jeff Stoutland aside when he has served you so well. He has been phenomenal at his job. Not one player would be like, that Jeff Stoutland guy, yeah, he sucks. Not one guy. I thought I was just going to be pissed off about Jared McCain getting traded, and then the Sixers actually got some decent stuff back in return, and then Jeff Stoutland drops this on us. Not cool. So look, I absolutely hate this. I absolutely hate this. And the Eagles made their bed, and now they got to lie in it. You don't push somebody aside like that. I've had the pleasure of talking to Jeff Stoutland a couple of times, and the last time I talked to him was at a Jason Kelsey event a couple of years ago, and I got him one-on-one. It was the first time it was just him and I talking. And I know everyone always asks him about two things. Hungry dogs run faster. Of course, that always gets mentioned. And then, what is it? What is the magical formula you have that can detect what a good offensive lineman is, or somebody you could grow into a good or great offensive lineman? And I remember he asked me, he said, how's your lower body lateral movement? And I was like, hey, Jeff, we're just getting to know each other, man. Let's not get so personal. And he was laughing. And I said, well, to answer your question, non-existent, is that a thing? He goes, that's what I look for in everybody. Everybody I look at. Lower body lateral movement. Okay. That's it. If you're going to be an offensive line coach, that's what you're looking for. And I was like, all right. And then the video became viral of him and Lane Johnson, him working out Lane Johnson, where he basically has his hands just below Lane's neck, just like the top of his chest and his top of his back, essentially. And he's like moving around with them. And then he takes his hands off and he's like, oh yeah, Hall of Fame. Like pretty much that's all it takes. Okay. And in that video, he's checking lower body lateral movement. There you go. So shame on the Eagles, but they got what they deserve when it comes to Stoutland. Yeah, guys, you want to just push me aside? I'll step aside. Thank you very much. See you later. As far as Jared McCain goes, okay. I don't get the outrage over this deal. I'm not happy about it, but I don't get the outrage. They didn't trade Steph Curry, folks. I get the outrage. The Sixers aren't a better team today than they were yesterday. That's what I don't like about this. Joel Embiid literally said, hey, don't duck the tax this year. Let's keep this together. Don't duck the tax. They ducked the tax. Okay. Joel Embiid says, don't duck the tax. Sixers are at $7 million over. Then Paul George gets suspended for 25 games without pay, which saves the Sixers, not the full 11 or 12 million, but the 5 to 6 million that they get tax credit. So now they're down to about $1.5, $1.7 million over the tax. They still get that gift. And still, they go, okay, trade Jared McCain and let's duck the tax. Let's get worse and try to build for the future, essentially, by getting these draft picks. Here's what's interesting about that. The Sixers aren't a build for the future team right now. Hey, maybe in the future, you're looking at Joel Embiid not playing, and you're still looking to build around Tyrese Maxey, and you're still looking to build around VJ Edgecombe and all that. You know? But no, this is about right now. You're still going to be paying top dollar for Joel Embiid no matter what over the next 4 years here. So Maybe build for right now. Maybe try to win right now. Maybe try to be the best possible team you could be right now. And Jared McCain helps you a lot more than a first-round pick that's going to be a late-round pick in this year's draft from Houston and 3 second-round picks down the line. So you didn't get better. And look, again, I'm not going to be enraged about the fact that they lost Jared McCain. I wish they still had him. I'd like to see this team have a guy like him coming off the bench, which, by the way, I knew recently Jared McCain in January was shooting the ball better from beyond the arc. He was looking a lot more confident and all that. I didn't realize in January through 13 games, he was shooting 48.6% from three. What? And then, we were ripping him earlier in the season in November, played 10 games. Oh, he doesn't really look like he has his flow. He doesn't look like he has his rhythm and all that stuff. He was shooting 38% from three in November. So 38%, then down to 28% in December. He has the G League stint. Comes up 48.6% from three this month. Yeah, I'd like to have that guy coming off the bench. If you're telling me it helps the team now because now they could re-up with Don Barlow, they could flip his contract over to like a real deal, essentially, as opposed to a two-way deal. Yeah, fine. But there's other ways to do that while still having Don Barlow and still having Jared McCain. Ain't that something? So it's weird. You're telling me you got a first-round pick in 3 seconds for Jared McCain. Isolated, I'm like, that's good. Okay, that's good. That's a nice return. Especially a guy who had a stint in the G League, 2 times this year? 1 time this year? My, oh, my. My, oh, my. I don't like that they went and made the tax the priority. I thought the priority this year for the 76ers was going to be being the best possible team you could be. As Nick Nurse has said throughout this season, we still got to dig ourselves out of what we did last year. Okay, well, you're not done doing that yet. Nice 5-game winning streak. That's cute. 29-21. That's cute. Being a playoff team right now, that's good. I like that. You still got a long way to go, Haas. Long way to go. And one way you could have sent a nice message to the fan base is not getting rid of talent you have now to flip for talent you could have down the line. That's what I don't like about this deal. Is it one that makes me lose my damn mind? Is it? Do I hope that, this is part of a bigger deal? Yeah, because that bigger deal would make the Sixers better now, hopefully. But it also makes me think, okay, what if you didn't get that tax break from Paul George being suspended without pay? Would Kelly Oubre have gotten traded? How far was this going to go? The Sixers don't have first-round picks. They got one coming over from the Clippers deal for James Harden, but that's not till 2027, 28, I think. So they get one in this year. Okay, great. From Houston, fine. The 3 second rounds, great, fine. But I thought it was about being as good as you could possibly be right now, and a great message you would have sent to your fan base that was real would have been keeping Jared McCain. The other thing is, you go all the way back to media day, and Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse are both talking about kind of being relevant again. Seeing teams like the Eagles win a championship, seeing teams like the Eagles continuously make the playoffs, go deep in the playoffs, unlike this year. Seeing the Phillies make the playoffs and how excited it makes the city of Philadelphia when you have a packed Citizens Bank Park with 47,000 fans screaming. They want to be a part of that. The Sixers want to be able to give that kind of excitement. They want to give that kind of hope. And I listened to that throughout the press conference before they, on media day, before they even flew to Abu Dhabi, before the preseason even started. And I'm like, oh, this is good. They get it. Oh, they understand. They get it. This is not that. Getting worse right now, which you do. You don't get better in losing a guy that could come off the bench and knock down threes for you like Jared McCain, who is just starting to hit that stride again. You don't get better by, thanks, man, no thanks, see you later. So what, the second half of the season, are we going to be dependent on Eric Gordon coming off the bench for you? What are we looking at here? Yeah, sure, you could look at the obvious in Quentin Grimes and say he's the guy that's going to be getting the minutes. He's the guy you're going to need to shoot well from the outside, and he hasn't been doing that as of late. So how does this make you better? Look, if there's another deal down the line, great, we'll talk about it then. But as of right now, isolated, before the 3 p.m. NBA trade deadline today, this does not make you better. And Daryl Morey trading for picks in the future, can we all get a good laugh about that? Because it's not like Daryl Morey is all of a sudden going to get a contract extension this year. Anyway. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARS to get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check. I do have a Fox 29 hit today. I got to give some rage about Stoutland and some unpleasantness about Jared McCain a little bit later. But Pin, what's going on? Good morning. Stoutland was insulted. Thank you. I totally agree with you. Sad day for the Eagles, says Jason. Losing Stout is so sad and a bad sign. Absolutely. Morning, Sean Gillespie. Hello. Can't believe this. What are the Eagles doing? They're arrogant. They're arrogant is the perfect word for it. Rye. It was fun when it lasted. Eagles are back to one and done in the playoffs at best anymore. I will be a fan of any team Stout goes to. Just Jason Kelsey talked about it. Like, how does a center become like this beloved? And he's been asked about it. It's not like he just brings it up on his own. But like an offensive line coach becomes this beloved. Not happy about Nick is Stout. Nick is an idiot. Jonesy, I agree. Or Joey, I'm sorry. Joey, I agree. Moorhead Sirianni, wide receiver guru supposedly, but hasn't developed one. True. Congrats on Laurie on being like Jerry Jones. It certainly feels like it. See the players this year that retired during the season, then Stout is out. Vic wants to leave, says KGK. I look at this, and it falls entirely on Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman for sitting back and letting it go so bad. Yeah. At least I saw 2 Super Bowl victories for the Eagles in my lifetime. There you go, Sean. Let's fall back on that. Jerry Von Skyver. What's up, buddy? Eagles brass just made a colossal mistake. Jeff Stoutland will go down as a all-time great assistant coach. More Pro Bowl players in his 13 years than the previous 60. I don't know. Sorry, right. Not sure how Howie allowed this to happen. That's the thing. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if Patullo and Sirianni just did their little brain trust throughout the season and excluded Stout, and Howie found out about it actually later. I know that sounds crazy to some people. And then you go to Stout. Stout, no, I'm sorry, how does this happen? We want you back. We want you back. I'm sure Stout was like, you know what? I'm good. That was bull. I'm out. Who will want the coach? Who wants to coach to Patullo to the offensive line? Patullo might go to the New York Jets and work under Frank Reich again. That's the first thought I had when I saw Reich went to the Jets. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. I'll be back with you guys 3:30 today. We're doing Locked On 76ers after the deadline. Keith Pompey and I. So check that one out. 12 o'clock today. Me, Louis DiBiase, Harry Mays, Jason Martinez got you covered for Locked On Eagles Squad show. See you guys then.